The sheer amount of Paradox Grand Strategy games on offer is staggering, and if you're new to the series, it can be a daunting task to not just pick up a game to start with, but to even know where to begin in these games, since each Paradox experience, despite following many of the similar design philosophies, all offer distinct and unique playstyles and mechanics. But even if you're a veteran of the series and want to try something new, deciding on a game can be difficult. And so, in this video, I've decided to go through every modern Paradox Grand Strategy game and talk about what makes them tick and why you should consider playing them, perhaps especially if you're curious and find them on sale. We'll get right into this. But first guys, a lot of work and sleepless nights goes into making these videos, which is why I'm extra proud to have partnered with Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is a popular service that offers both upcoming, brand new and older titles at great discounts, and I love using it myself to save on various games of all genres. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by following my link below and save tons of money on games you'd otherwise spend a lot more on elsewhere. Alright, I'll get to every major Paradox game that matters, don't worry. But for the sake of continuity, as Paradox games themselves are in a lot of ways one big continuation of history moving ever forward, I think we'll begin at the beginning. Imperator Rome is as far back as any Paradox game will take us, and it is indeed in ancient Rome that we begin. In fact, our timeline takes us from 304 BC to 27 BC, giving us roughly 300 years to unfold and spread our colors all over this gorgeous map of the ancient world. As you can tell though, Rome is not the only faction worthy of note here. In fact, at the start of the game, which in the Roman calendar would be Ab Urbe Condita 450, Rome is little more than a strong regional power. Just beyond a small part of the Mediterranean lies Carthage, but even more importantly are the massive and powerful Hellenistic Diadochi in the east, fighting for the remnants and restoration of Alexander's great empire. In fact, the Seleucids, the Ptolemies, Macedonia and the Antigonids, the largest factions making up these so-called Wars of the Diadochi, make up an extremely interesting parallel to the looming Roman-Carthage conflict in the west, meaning you'll experience the rise and fall of various empires no matter where you play. This doesn't even mention the many other factions on offer here, which range from barbarian tribes in Northern Europe, various Iberian and North African tribes and entities, nomads in the eastern steppes, and the massive Indian Empire to the far east, which one day could set its sights on the west if internal conflicts can be squashed. In other words, Imperator Rome is not just about Rome at all, but about the entire ancient world west of China and north of the Sahara, meaning you'll have virtually unlimited hours of playtime and a diverse set of cultures, religions, and political and economic systems to dive into. And I think this latter part is one of Imperator Rome's most interesting aspects. You see, at its core, Imperator Rome is something of a mix between Crusader Kings, EU4, and even Victoria 3. And the reason for this is that Imperator offers characters that are meaningful actors within and outside your realm. It offers important state mechanics related to where your nation is going, what missions you undertake, and on what foundations your state is made. And underneath all this actually lies a system based on pops, where every region is made up of pops of various cultures and religions. But there's even more here. We have an entire economic trade system present where every region produces resources which are then needed to maintain a healthy growing population or indeed to access military units like horses, heavy units wearing iron, elephants, and so on. Tag on the fact that Imperator Rome fully commits to city sprawl and the visible growth of cities, and what we have here is quite frankly one of the most interesting Paradox games of them all. And that's not even mentioning the warfare system, which has an incredible levy versus legion mechanic, which over time completely changes how you wage war and how personalized and unique your armies become. You can even lay down roads, which is just so damn charming, and we can't forget about the music either, which is just simply gorgeous. Couple it all with a beautiful UI, and I think Imperator Rome is one of those games that needs to be played and experienced. If you want even more out of the game, it even offers the amazing Invictus mod, which overhauls the game with more depth and fixes, and offers sub-mods which even adds China and Japan into the mix. Or what about an amazing Lord of the Rings mod, which fits so well with Imperator's game systems? In other words, if you love the ancient era and want to see it being done justice in terms of depth and scale, and of course, both with full single-player and multiplayer support, then Imperator Rome is a must-play. And even though the game's development is technically over, it is intriguing that a developer has come back to sporadically patch it now and then. And to be honest, I wish for nothing more than for Imperator to get the love and attention it deserves, because the 2.0 update really turned this thing into a worthy ancient era experience. Our next game makes us jump anywhere from about 800 to over 1,000 years into the future, depending on when you begin the game, as Crusader Kings 3 is all about the Middle Ages. Now offering 3 start periods, the first set in the Viking Age after the split of the Frankish Empire, the second begins in 1066, and the third beginning in 1178, and the third crusade. The world of Crusader Kings 3 is massively diverse. As always, every faction you see on this map can be controlled by the player, but it doesn't stop there. You see, Crusader Kings 3, as opposed to Imperator Rome and the games to follow, is all about the people of this world, meaning the focus is on the characters leading these states. This means that you cannot just control the upper layer monarchs, but the mid-level manager of CK3 and the lower level counts if you want a bigger challenge. CK3 is all about the journey, the intrigue, and the personal experience of your character, and how you can use everything at your disposal to gain power and fame for your family and dynasty. This means that you have to do everything from finding love and marriage, to having kids, killing people, taking their land, get sick, fight battles, get depressed, stressed, and happy again before you eventually die, and begin the next life as your offspring, now forced to hold together the country, duchy, kingdom, or empire you've built up. Of course, with the latest major update Roads to Power, CK3 now offers landless gameplay, allowing you to play characters with no titles to their name, but who must instead build up their own army and travel the world to accumulate power and fame. And at some point, if you wish, you could totally conquer an empire of your own, of course. This DLC also brought with it a major revamp of Byzantium and administrative empire gameplay, meaning we have a massive and imperial alternative to feudalism now, which is just awesome. Characters aren't the only thing in CK3, even though everything revolves around them. We must deal with cultures, religions, succession laws, and vassal contracts, all of which can and will change throughout the game depending on your and other characters' aims. Whereas other games often let you just play as the same country throughout the game, CK3 changes this up by revolving the game around a game of title shares. You see, the only thing staying constant in this game is your dynasty. What country you lead depends entirely on your character's titles. You may usurp or seize titles from others, create entirely new ones, or even lose your titles in wars or through succession, which makes this a highly dynamic, unique, and exciting affair. Now, you might have heard of Crusader Kings 2, the older title in the same series. CK2 is a fantastic game in its own right, and I love it to death, and it offers a few unique aspects CK3 has yet to deliver. If you want something of an older feeling but still amazing game, then you can try Crusader Kings 2 for free actually. But what CK2 doesn't offer is CK3's modern feel, much larger campaign map, deeper cultural and religious mechanics, and a few major innovations that really makes a big difference. We're talking a full 3D royal courtroom that varies in size and stature depending on which character and culture you're playing as, that you even get to customize and toy around with as you wish, a new and unique struggle mechanic that makes individual regions feel a lot more unique and tailored, which the 2 current examples of are in Iberia and Persia, and all new mechanics related to your presence and grandeur within and outside your realm, allowing you to hold grand weddings, grand tournaments, and go on tours around the kingdom to gain tribute and increase relations. CK3 of course has you deal with warfare as well, the all-important crusades and other holy wars, and allows you to develop your regions and in this way create large empires or strong, tall principalities. CK3 is a great game overall, one of the quintessential medieval strategy game experience actually, and one of the easiest Paradox games to learn at that. So if you're completely new to the series, this just might be where I'd recommend you start. On top of that, the mods for CK3 are numerous and just downright incredible, with total conversion mods offering everything from the lost period between Imperator Rome and CK3, namely in the Fallen Eagle mod, which takes place during the late Roman and early medieval period, an incredible Lord of the Rings mod, an astounding Game of Thrones mod, an insane Elder Scrolls total conversion mod, and perhaps what takes the cake, a mod that lets you play Attila's Total War battles in CK3, and convert them to CK3 in almost real time. In other words, the options and opportunities here are just positively silly and amazing, and as such, CK3 comes highly recommended. Our next game is EU4, which follows more or less directly after CK3's end date, namely in 1444, and lasts up until Napoleon's death in 1821. Now, EU4 holds a special place in my heart since it's the one I've played by far the most at over 2,000 hours, but it's also arguably the best strategy game ever made, period. EU4 is truly grand, spanning the entire world, and offers mechanics that really makes every era within these 400 years of game time feel unique and special. Contrary to Crusader Kings, EU4 is all about state management and the larger perspective, and it really has to be since there is so much going on here. But that doesn't mean it's not deep. In fact, it's arguably the most comprehensive grand strategy game ever. Here, you must take advantage of what every age has on offer. You must choose advisors, make the best use of your monarch points to steer your state in various directions, whether that means incorporating new states, dealing with internal problems, or indeed researching new technologies, which is essential to keep up in the arms race. You must develop your provinces, raise buildings, make important decisions regarding your realm, and of course, wage war to assure your future independence and dominance. But what's so special about EU4 is its complete and utter devotion to special mechanics and faction flavor, meaning unique features available to every faction. What everyone has in common is that they must deal with internal estates, meaning powerful forces within your country that stand in opposition to the royal powers. But even here, things like different government mechanics, like republic versus monarchies or even religions, can at times disable, change, or enable entire features. But one of my favorite features here is the unique mission system, which is meant to guide your particular nation in more or less historical or alternative directions. I find that they help to shape and guide my playthrough, and even though they're completely optional, can open unique opportunities and create memorable moments. What's more is that EU4 offers a few very unique systems that incorporate several states at once. The Holy Roman Empire system is one of the several dozen factions vying for power and influence, and can mean the detriment or the blessing of your particular nation if you find yourself within the empire. The same goes for the Empire of China, which is a similar system, but which works differently. EU4 further takes place in the unique Age of Discovery and Colonization era, meaning the game makes great use of mechanics that simulate how imperial powers were born in this era. Colonization is important to stake your claim and find your place in the sun, but depending on the path of technologies you choose, or the missions you follow, or just the vibes you lead, you can choose to go about creating your very own imperial story the way you want to. And again, you can do so as any of the hundreds of nations present. What's so great about EU4 is that to me, it feels like it offers a lot more vertical challenge than many other games out there. You can literally begin the game as a one-province nation, figuring out how to survive in this vast world, or you can begin as the most powerful and dominating empires out there. But no matter where you start, you'll have to deal with internal strife and foreign interventions. And I just have to say that nothing has impressed me as much as the AI in this game, which feels truly present and alive. You really don't feel alone playing EU4 because everything is so active all the time. And even though you can jump into multiplayer games with your friends if you'd like, I think a big part of why I have literal thousands of hours here is because of how realistic and fun the AI is to deal with. EU4 is arguably Paradox's most comprehensive and all-encompassing grand strategy game ever. I cannot recommend it enough, and if you're new and you want to jump in and play, you can even subscribe to the DLC pack, which unlocks every expansion ever released for a low monthly price, might I add, which I personally feel is extremely worth it. And as with every game on this list, honestly, it'll take you a few hours, days, or even years to fully learn this game, but every step of the way is rewarding, and I think that's the best thing I can say about EU4, frankly. The modding scene for EU4 is similarly booming, offering total conversion mods that present a different focus, like the deep and amazing Voltaire's Nightmare, another Game of Thrones mod, the fantasy world of Anbanar, or indeed Imperium Universalis, a mod that takes us back to the early antiquity on a truly grand campaign map. Jumping ahead to Paradox's latest game now, we have Victoria 3. And boy oh boy, much has changed around these parts since the beginning. Victoria 3 takes off pretty much where EU4 ends, starting in 1836 and lasts all the way up until 1936. And I think you might know where this is headed right about now. Victoria 3 is all about the long 19th century, and whether you're cruising as the British Empire, the French, the Austrian, or cursing the modern age as the Ottomans, you're going to have to deal with the changes every nation will experience. Rapid advances in technology, whether related to your military, manufacturing, or societal advancements, will be crucial to take advantage of, and falling behind can mean the death of your empire in the long run. But contrary to many other Paradox games, Victoria 3 isn't first and foremost about conquest, even though it remains an important aspect. Victoria 3 focuses instead on state management, internal politics, and setting up your production and trade system in order to create a vibrant economy that can support industrialization, and a population which must have their needs met to fuel your economy. Even though Victoria 3 lacks some of the same types of unique flavor mechanics as EU4 offers, I think it makes up for this in its sandbox approach to flavor. Every nation begins with their own distinct internal political makeup, which you must navigate to adopt new laws and take your country in your chosen direction. Every nation sits upon historically important resources, and since every resource in the game matters to an extent, you can focus your economy in the best way you see fit. Victoria 3 is all about dealing with internal strife, maintaining or creating new societies based on the laws therein. It's all about markets and trading, and of course, it's about warfare, which has received a major shakeup. Now, warfare is arguably the most beautiful and cinematic it's ever been in a Paradox game, but as has always been the case, armies are controlled by fronts, meaning you're not constantly clicking them around, but assigning armies and navies to specific zones on the map, so to speak, from where they can fight on their own. This system has been made so much better with various control and under the hood improvements, especially now that it's so simple to customize your armies through various bonuses, generals, and all new tactics and visuals that finally work the way they should. With Victoria 3's latest massive updates, which arrived in 2024 though, the game has taken big steps forward. Now, the great powers lead their very own imperial markets and use their influence to put pressure on foreign countries with the aim of moving them into their sphere of influence. In addition, more flavor has been added, like in Voice of the People, Colossus of the South, and Pivot to Empire, 3 flavor packs which expands the gameplay of factions in regions like France, South America, and India. We also can't forget about this massive living campaign map, which honestly might just be one of the largest, prettiest, and most detailed campaign maps ever made in a whole bunch of ways, especially if you consider everything going on here. We have city sprawl, trade routes that are actually operated by ships or wagons or trains, and even a few unique looking places like good old Constantinople. Victoria 3 is by now a must-play in my strategy-minded opinion, especially because you're getting a full game here without the need to pay for the small amount of DLCs that exist if you don't want to. Onward we go to arguably the darkest period in a Paradox game, and no, I don't mean in terms of game quality, but in terms of time period. Hearts of Iron 4 takes place during World War II and its lead-up, allowing you to play as the great powers of Europe and beyond, with a particular focus on the likes of Germany, Great Britain, the USA, France, and the USSR. But frankly, in the years since release, Paradox has significantly increased the range of factions with unique and meaningful mechanics, which means that there are dozens of nations here with their special ways of playing. Hearts of Iron 4 is first and foremost a war game, because once World War II truly begins, and it will begin in one way or another, it can take quite a while before it ends. You will of course have to manage various aspects of state, production, and technology, but the most important and unique aspects here are all related to the maintenance of the war machine and the makeup of the war machine itself. New weapons of war must be researched, your units or vehicles must be equipped with the latest weapons and gadgets, and you must now simultaneously focus on land, naval, and air warfare, meaning space is the only thing out of reach, for now. Hearts of Iron 4 just might be the most technical and the most complex of the Paradox games to learn if you're anything like me, but what's here continues to be extremely rewarding, and it's definitely the most intense of the games, since you must not only steer your country and military where you want them, that you give your units the optimal battlefield orders, which means everything from literal maneuvers and advancing orders to which generals or officers command which armies. Hearts of Iron 4 is one of the most popular Paradox games out there, and I think it's owed to both the interesting time period, the strong visuals, and the intensity of these campaigns. And do totally feel free to jump right in if you wish, but I think if you're curious about Paradox and have yet to be familiarized with any of their games, I definitely take my time with tutorials, watch YouTube videos for reference, or even begin with another game first, just to give you a taste of how complex these games can become. Of course, Hearts of Iron 4 is no stranger to mods either, and it offers some of the most popular ones out there, like the modern day overhaul mod, which lets you play in a modern world and setting with some incredible attention to detail, or various other alternate history mods like Kaiserreich or Road to 56. In other words, if you love World War II as a setting, wargaming, and systems related to creating the ultimate war economy, then ask your doctor if Hearts of Iron 4 is right for you. And last but not least, we have Stellaris, perhaps the ultimate in space grand strategy, but what Stellaris does different from the other games on this list is its approach to grand strategy. You see, Stellaris is something of a unique mix between grand strategy and 4X, meaning even though we're definitely filled to the brim with administrative and political opportunities and mechanics, we also get some of that classic 4X taste. Stellaris offers up a vast universe of solar systems and anomalies, and the 4X part appears when you gather resources to advance various aspects of your empire. It's an addictive and steady, yet so exciting game because of the setting itself. You begin alone in the universe and must then do your best to explore and traverse the unknown until you meet aliens and other more threatening species out there. And I think that's an aspect which in Paradox terms is frankly wholly unique. The sense of exploring the completely unknown, of traversing the darkness and finding the light of the stars, and of doing so to a soundtrack that itself lights up the galaxy. You must not only develop your planets to fund your future space projects, but must guide your empire forward and define what your ideological foundations are. Create a space navy and customize your ships, even to the point of creating vast planet-killing machines, but before it all begins, you get to create your own race with unique attributes and facets. Stellaris is complex, mysterious, and one of the overall most beautiful Paradox games out there, not just in a visual sense, but in a meta sense, and I once again wish to mention that sense of exploration and being in space. Alongside Crusader Kings 3, I'd say Stellaris is a fairly simple game for newcomers to enjoy, in relative terms at least, and it might not be a bad place to start if you're new with the genre or with Paradox games overall. And of course, there's a bunch of mods to try out here as well. And that was every modern Paradox game for you, and my humble opinions on which ones might be the easiest to approach, and why they should interest you. Paradox games are among my most played games of all time, and frankly I think they're well deserved. Even though every game experiences their ups and downs, I think no strategy game company manages to make as consistently great, complex, and addicting grand strategy games, especially that gets updated year after year, and with this level of modding support. Let me know which Paradox games you're playing at the moment, if you're just beginning, and please tell me if you found this list helpful. Make sure to leave a like on the video and sub to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!